While extreme weather becomes more frequent, global temperatures rise and nature and biodiversity are being destroyed. The UK government likes to present itself as a leader on the climate crisis.
And for our part, the UK will fulfil our ambitious commitment to reduce emissions by at least 68% by 2030.
But now, our research has revealed that there are more than 90 operational onshore oil and gas sites across England and Wales, and several sites with new or extended activity planned. And there is a proposal for a new coal mine, as well as plans for expanded activity at existing mines. Around the UK, companies are planning new sites to dig up fossil fuels.
They've got planning permission for 20 years of production.
This is David against Goliath.
While the government here tells other countries to slash their emissions and lauds its own net zero ambitions, we're now having to challenge coal, oil and gas extraction on our doorsteps. As sea levels rise and heat waves get worse, we need to stop these projects. We're going to take you on a tour around the UK to meet communities facing fossil fuel projects and fighting back. This is the UK's dirty secret.
We're here in Whitehaven today, in 2023, fighting a proposed new coal mine. It's utterly ludicrous, but Friends of the Earth, we're standing with the local community here, as we have done for years, to make sure this development doesn't go ahead. The UK is supposed to be net zero by 2050, and this proposed new coal mine is supposed to run until 2049.
Again, that small number of wealthy shareholders who profit from investing in the mine.
My name's Hazel Graham and I'm a climate jobs campaigner. I think as a climate movement, it's really important that we understand how to pick apart the lies that we're being told. West Cumbria Mining and the government, they're trying to create false divides across communities. They're trying to pit sort of the needs against each other of the need for jobs for our generation and the need for our kids to have a livable planet. They're also trying to create a false divide from sort of those of us who are sort of in the workers' movement, the trade union movement, fighting for jobs, against those of us in the climate movement, again, fighting for that livable future. And as more and more of us see that the flooding, as the cost of living crisis bites, we're starting to demand change that tackles all of that at the same time. Secure unionised jobs, to insulate our homes, fix public transport. As the likes of West Cumbria Mining, their shareholders, see that sort of cohesive united movement, that's terrifying for them, so they have to try and divide us.
I'm here to support the campaign against the Whitehaven coal mine. Immediately here on the site, it will create dust and noise for people who are living here.
Cumbria is at the brunt, it's bearing the brunt of the effects of climate change already. There's been so much devastation of communities and businesses from flooding over recent years, and that's only going to get worse. There are many alternatives that would be optimistic and positive and long-term sort of opportunities, especially for young people around here. Who wants to go backwards to something that's going to be, so negative and so detrimental to people's future and to this lovely local environment we have here?
Later this year, we'll join South Lake's action on climate change at the High Court. We'll be challenging the government's decision to open the UK's first deep coal mine in 30 years.
Together with the local community, Friends of the Earth are taking the UK government to court over their decision to allow a coal mine here in Cumbria. And we're fighting for a better, cleaner, greener future. The message from scientists is clear. We have to stop digging for fossil fuels now.
On the coast of Northern Ireland, the government has approved a huge new project to excavate 7 enormous underground chambers to store gas.
The Larne Lough proposal was a giant hole in the ground, but make 7 of them, and instead of the ground, put them under the seabed, make them huge, the size of a skyscraper, each one of them, and in that space that's hollowed out from under the seabed, put gas to store.
The area is home to 2 nature reserves. Species like seals, dolphins, lobsters, crabs and starfish would all be threatened by this development.
The company that proposes to solution mine caverns under Larne Lough intends to pump the poisonous brine into the sea just around the corner from where we are now. This would create a dead zone in the sea. And obviously, we can't let that happen.
The effect could be devastating. Like, the word dead zone isn't our word. That's used by the developer, to describe the area.
Friends of the Earth Northern Ireland has been supporting local campaign group No Gas Caverns, and we went to the High Court in Belfast to challenge the decision to approve the project.
Court cases are difficult and the costs are huge and the risks are huge, but the community response to this case has been fantastic. There was a very strong local group that had been operating there for years. We acted as co-applicants with this group. That means essentially that before the eyes of the court, we are one. We had one set of arguments. We were acting together, and that's exactly where Friends of the Earth should be, supporting communities in a very literal sense straight into the courtroom. There are places that are vulnerable to this type of infrastructure because they think people won't fight back, or because they think that they can slip it in under the radar and no one will notice, and they were proven wrong in this case. So regardless of the outcome, there will be more issues like this as the pressure to abandon climate wrecking projects hikes up. We need to make sure that there are community groups and local resistance to call it out when it happens and have the strength to pursue it, just like the No Gas Caverns group in Isla McGee.
We've already proven that stopping fossil fuel projects through community action is possible. In Wales, Friends of the Earth and local campaigners have won a hard-fought victory against the Ffos-y-Fran coal mine.
Ffos-y-Fran has been open for about 15 years now, and it's a massive open cast mine. It's the biggest in the UK, and the scale is it's difficult to imagine until you actually see it. And it's had a really big impact on the local population, especially from dust and noise. So it's been a real burden on local residents, some of them in houses only about 50 metres away from the mine. Ffos-y-Fran mine was due to close last September, but just a couple of days before the end of the mining date, the company put a planning proposal into the council to extend the life of the mine. We objected, we sent in documents to the council, and it all dragged on until April, where it finally went to a vote of Merthyr Council Planning Committee. And then we were thrilled when actually it was a unanimous vote against the proposal. And it was a joy to be in the council chamber, actually, because councillor after councillor stood up and said, look, the situation's changed over the last 10 years. We're in a climate emergency. We cannot mine any more coal. It's not in the interest of the current or future generations. The chamber was full of campaigners and local residents who were really pleased and finally thinking the mining will stop.
But in May and June, drone footage from the site showed mining still going on after the mine was ordered to close.
We've had local residents reporting coal trucks going out of the site. Coal Action Network managed to get some drone footage that actually mining has been continuing on this site. And it's as much as 1,000 tonnes of coal taken out of that site every day. So despite being rejected by the council, rejected by the local community, they think they've got a right to carry on. The company have now said that they will be closing the mine in November 2023, but we're still campaigning for a stop notice to end the mining now. And we're also really concerned that they won't be making the site safe and accessible to the local community. Restoring and landscaping the site was the justification all along for this project. Coal is a really important part of Wales's heritage and history, and we all want to recognise that, but it can't be a part of our future. Communities themselves are regenerating, are looking ahead to greener, healthier, fairer futures.
These gates behind me are the Horse Hill oil site run by UK Oil and Gas Limited, UKOG. They've currently got 2 oil wells which have been drilled in the past decade, and they're producing a small volume of oil here. But they've got planning permission to drill 4 more oil wells and to produce oil for 20 years.
There's still a lot of people that don't realise it's there. When it was active a few years ago, it became quite a focus of local public attention. It was really unwelcome. They've got absolutely no respect for local communities.
We joined local campaigners on a protest walk, just a few days before a legal battle would arrive at the Supreme Court.
I'm Sarah Finch, and I'm the person who's brought this case against Surrey County Council, saying when the planning permission was granted, the council had to do an environmental impact assessment. In terms of climate, they looked at the emissions from this little site, but not the much greater volume when the oil is actually used. That cannot be legal.
Central to the case is the issue of downstream emissions. Whether the emissions produced when the fuel is used, not just extracted, need to be taken into account in planning decisions. The Friends of the Earth legal team is intervening in the Supreme Court on behalf of Sarah and the Wheeled Action Group.
My name's Katie DeCower. I'm a lawyer at Friends of the Earth. The council did not consider the full climate impacts of this development. If Sarah's challenge succeeds, it could mean that Surrey County Council's decision was unlawful, but it could also have ramifications for other fossil fuel projects around the country. And it's very telling, therefore, that West Cumbria Mining Limited, the promoter of the Whitehaven coal mine, has decided to intervene at the Supreme Court stage here. And they're doing that clearly because they're concerned about possible ramifications of this case for their own coal mine.
Don't drill!
Just to see all the people here, Friends of the Earth, Wheeled Action Group, Extinction Rebellion, I just feel really hopeful and yeah, it's a big day.
Don't drill! Don't drill!
This is the culmination of a very, very long battle over Horse Hill, and it's also one of the first climate cases to be heard in the Supreme Court. It's a really important moment. Many of us here have been fighting the drilling at Horse Hill in one way or the other for more than 10 years.
We are of course facing a climate crisis. We saw record-breaking temperatures last year at 40 degrees Celsius. We saw wildfires springing out across the country. We all know this, and we know that if we continue down the road that the global community is currently on, these events are going to increase both in frequency and in magnitude.
This court case today could set a really important precedent in holding fossil fuel companies to account. It is important that the full climate impact of fossil fuel projects, which includes burning the fossil fuels, not just extracting the fossil fuels, are taken into account.
We said leave it in the ground! We said leave it in the ground!
The Supreme Court is yet to deliver a judgment. But whatever the outcome, we'll continue fighting fossil fuel projects. In Whitehaven, in South Wales, on Island Magee, at Horse Hill, in the courts and across the country, communities are rallying to say no to new coal mines and oil and gas drilling, and yes to sustainable and renewable energy and a cleaner and greener future. Visit the Friends of the Earth website to explore our map of the oil, gas and coal sites hidden in plain sight. In the middle of a climate emergency, our government must take urgent action to bring an end to these developments. And if you agree with us, sign our petition and tell the government no new fossil fuel developments.